Have you ever noticed something strange? The more people talk about self-love, the more exhausted they seem. They buy another book, another journal, another wellness routine, another weekend getaway. They tell themselves, "I deserve this." And yet, when the room is quiet, when the phone is finally put away, that familiar voice returns. Why don't I feel enough? Maybe the problem isn't that you don't love yourself. Maybe you've simply been taught the wrong definition of self-care. Because real self-care isn't always comfortable. Sometimes, it asks you to wake up earlier, to face uncomfortable truths, to let go of excuses, to become the kind of person your future self can trust. 2,000 years ago, long before therapy apps, productivity hacks, or social media gurus, the Stoics understood something we've almost forgotten. The greatest act of self-love isn't making yourself feel better, it's making yourself stronger. And by the end of this video, you'll discover 5 Stoic habits that don't just improve your mood for a day, they slowly transform the relationship you have with yourself. Because once that relationship changes, everything else begins to change with it. Before we begin, I'd like to ask you one simple question. When was the last time you truly kept a promise to yourself? Not to your boss, not to your family, not to your friends, to yourself. Because every broken promise stays somewhere inside you. Every time you say, "I'll start tomorrow," "I'll exercise next week," "I'll stop overthinking," a small part of your mind quietly loses trust. And without trust, it's almost impossible to truly love yourself. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "The happiness of your life depends upon the quality of your thoughts." Notice what he didn't say. He didn't say happiness depends on money, or success, or admiration. He pointed inward, because that's where every lasting transformation begins. As we explore these 5 Stoic habits together, I invite you to do more than simply listen. Choose one habit, just one, and commit to practicing it this week. Then come back and tell us what changed. You may be surprised by how something so simple can quietly reshape your entire life. Now, let's begin with the habit that changes everything else. Habit 1: start every morning by meeting yourself. Most people wake up and immediately meet the world. They check messages, emails, the news, social media. Before their feet even touch the floor, their attention already belongs to someone else. And then they wonder why they feel anxious before breakfast. Imagine beginning your day differently. Imagine the very first conversation isn't with your phone, but with yourself. This simple habit was at the heart of Stoic practice. Before facing the chaos of the world, the Stoics prepared their own minds. Epictetus believed that freedom begins long before circumstances test you. It begins with deciding who you want to be before the day asks anything of you. Think about that. Most people prepare their schedule. Very few prepare their character. And that's why tiny inconveniences feel like enormous disasters. Traffic ruins their mood. One critical email destroys their confidence. A single rude comment stays in their mind all day. Not because the event was powerful, but because the mind wasn't prepared. Marcus Aurelius understood this deeply. Every morning, before leading an empire, he reminded himself that he would meet difficult people, ungrateful people, arrogant people, impatient people, not to become cynical, but to become ready. He wasn't expecting life to become easier. He was preparing himself to become steadier. Now ask yourself something. How different would your day feel if before opening your phone, you spent just 5 quiet minutes asking 3 questions? Who do I want to become today? What challenge am I likely to face? How will I respond when it arrives? Those questions seem almost too simple, but they're powerful. because they move your attention from reaction to intention. You stop drifting through the day. You begin leading it. This isn't positive thinking. It's mental training. Exactly the way an athlete warms up before competition. Your mind deserves the same preparation. And something remarkable begins to happen. The difficult coworker doesn't surprise you anymore. The unexpected delay no longer steals your peace. The criticism that once kept you awake at night loses much of its power. Not because life changed, because you did. That's real self-care. Not escaping reality. Preparing for it. Not protecting yourself from discomfort. Preparing yourself to meet it with dignity. And once you've learned to master your mornings, you're ready for the second habit. One that might sound uncomfortable at first, but may become the greatest source of confidence you'll ever build. Habit 2. Choose discomfort before life chooses it for you. There is a quiet lie that modern life repeats every single day. If something feels uncomfortable, avoid it. If a conversation feels difficult, delay it. If a task feels overwhelming, scroll your phone instead. If your emotions become heavy, find a distraction. At first, this feels like self-care, but over time, it becomes self-abandonment, because every discomfort you avoid returns a little stronger. Every difficult conversation left unsaid becomes heavier. Every fear left unchallenged becomes larger. Every excuse repeated often enough begins to sound like the truth. The Stoics understood something that most people never realize. Comfort is wonderful until it becomes your prison. Seneca was one of the wealthiest men in Rome. He could have surrounded himself with luxury every single day. Instead, he deliberately practiced discomfort. Sometimes he wore simple clothing. Sometimes he ate plain food. Sometimes he slept on the floor. Not because he hated comfort, but because he refused to become dependent on it. He once wrote, "Set aside a certain number of days during which you shall be content with the scantiest and cheapest fare," asking yourself, is this the condition that I feared? Think about that for a moment. He wasn't training his body. He was training his mind. Because fear often survives only in imagination. The moment you willingly face discomfort, fear begins to shrink. You've probably experienced this yourself. Perhaps you postponed making an important phone call for days. You imagined every possible disaster. You replayed the conversation in your head. You lost sleep over it. And then, when you finally made the call, it lasted 5 minutes. The monster existed mostly in your imagination. That's how the mind works. It magnifies what it refuses to face. Marcus Aurelius faced wars, plagues, political betrayal, the uncertainty of leading an empire. Yet his writings rarely speak about wishing life were easier. Instead, they reveal a man constantly preparing himself to become stronger than his circumstances. That is the Stoic difference. Most people ask, how can I make life easier? The Stoic asks, how can I become stronger? Those are completely different questions. One depends on the world changing. The other depends on you changing. And only one of those is truly within your control. So how do you practice this today? Not by making your life miserable. Not by punishing yourself. Not by pretending suffering is noble. Simply choose one small discomfort before life chooses one for you. Take the stairs instead of the elevator. Finish the difficult task before the easy one. Leave your phone in another room for an hour. Wake up 30 minutes earlier. Speak the truth you've been avoiding. Sit quietly with your thoughts, without reaching for a distraction. These actions seem insignificant, but they're doing something extraordinary beneath the surface. They're teaching your nervous system, I can handle difficult things. Every time you voluntarily step into discomfort, your confidence grows. Not because someone praised you, not because life became easier, Because you've collected evidence. Evidence that you can trust yourself. And trust is the foundation of self-love. Many people confuse confidence with motivation. They believe confident people simply feel different. But confidence isn't a feeling. It's a memory. It's remembering all the difficult things you've already survived. It's remembering every promise you've kept, every challenge you've faced, every fear you've walked through instead of around. That's why voluntary discomfort is such a powerful form of self-care. You're no longer waiting for life to convince you that you're capable. You're proving it to yourself, one small decision at a time. Because every difficult choice made willingly today becomes unexpected strength tomorrow. And once you've learned not to run from discomfort, you'll notice another invisible force trying to control you. Not fear, not pain, but temptation. The constant pull toward quick pleasure, easy dopamine, and instant gratification. That's where the third Stoic habit begins. Habit 3. Protect your mind like you protect your home. Have you ever noticed how careful you are about who enters your home, but how careless you are about what enters your mind? You lock your doors at night. You install alarms. You protect your possessions. Yet every day, you allow endless opinions, breaking news, social media outrage, and other people's fears to move freely through your thoughts. And then you wonder why your mind feels crowded, why you can't think clearly, why peace feels so far away. The Stoics believed that your mind is your most valuable possession. If you lose money, you can earn it back. If you lose status, you can rebuild it. But if you lose control of your own mind, everything else begins to crumble. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself of this almost daily. He wrote, "The soul becomes dyed with the color of its thoughts." Think about those words. Dyed. Just as white cloth slowly absorbs whatever color touches it, your mind slowly absorbs whatever you expose it to repeatedly. Not all at once. Little by little. Day after day. Imagine two people waking up tomorrow morning. The first reaches for the phone immediately. Within 15 minutes, they've seen political arguments, celebrity scandals, financial fears, angry comments, perfect vacation photos, and tragic headlines from across the world. Before breakfast, their nervous system has already experienced anxiety, comparison, anger, and disappointment. Now imagine someone else. They wake up. They breathe. They stretch. They sit quietly for 5 minutes. They read one page from a meaningful book. They write down one intention for the day. Then, and only then, they enter the outside world. Both people lived through the same morning, but they built completely different minds. Here's something modern psychology continues to confirm. Your brain cannot easily distinguish between what happens to you and what you repeatedly imagine. The more negativity you consume, the more your brain begins expecting negativity. Soon, danger feels normal. Peace feels unfamiliar. This is why many people remain exhausted, even on perfectly ordinary days. Not because life is attacking them, because their attention has been under attack for years. Epictetus warned his students to be careful about what they practiced every day, because whatever you repeat becomes part of your character. Today, we practice distraction. We practice comparison. We practice outrage. Without even realizing it, every notification asks for your attention. Every headline competes for your emotion. Every advertisement whispers the same message. You're missing something. You're not enough. Buy this. Become that. Little by little. Your peace is traded for stimulation. The Stoics would call this voluntary slavery. Not because someone forced you, because you handed over your attention willingly. And attention is life. Where your attention goes, your character quietly follows. So what does Stoic self-care look like here? It doesn't require deleting every app. or disappearing into the mountains. It begins with one simple question. Does this deserve a place in my mind? Before reading another comment, ask it. Before watching another video, ask it. Before joining another argument, ask it. Does this make me wiser, kinder, stronger, or simply more reactive? Imagine treating your mind the way a gardener treats a beautiful garden. Weeds always grow naturally. Flowers require intention. If you never remove the weeds, eventually, they become the garden. Your thoughts work exactly the same way. Protecting your peace isn't selfish. It's responsible. Because a distracted mind cannot become a wise mind, and a restless mind cannot truly love itself. The beautiful thing is, every time you choose what deserves your attention, you're quietly deciding who you're becoming, because your life is built one thought at a time. And once you've learned to protect your mind from the outside world, there's one final battle waiting inside. The voice that speaks to you when no one else is listening. That voice can become your greatest enemy or your strongest ally. And that's exactly what we'll explore in the next habit. Habit 4. Become the friend you keep looking for in others. There is a painful contradiction that many people never notice. They speak to strangers with patience. They comfort their friends with kindness. They forgive people who disappoint them. But when they make a mistake themselves, their inner voice becomes merciless. How could you be so stupid? You'll never change. Everyone else has figured life out except you. If someone else spoke to you this way every day, you would probably walk away from them. Yet many people carry that voice inside their own mind for years, and then they wonder why they struggle to love themselves. The Stoics never believed that growth comes through self-hatred. They believed it comes through honest self-examination. There is an enormous difference. One destroys you. The other develops you. Marcus Aurelius spent years writing private reflections to himself. Not for fame. Not for publication. Not because he wanted the world to admire his wisdom. In fact, he never expected anyone to read them. His journal wasn't a performance. It was a conversation. A quiet place where he could correct himself without condemning himself. When he noticed anger, he didn't call himself a failure. When he became impatient, he didn't decide he was broken. He simply reminded himself to return to the kind of person he wanted to become. That's an important distinction. Stoicism doesn't ask, "Are you perfect?" It asks, "Are you improving?" Because perfection is impossible. Improvement is always available. Imagine a skilled teacher helping a young student learn to read. The child stumbles over a difficult sentence. The teacher doesn't slam the book shut and say, "You'll never learn." The teacher gently points to the mistake and invites another attempt. Progress happens because correction is calm, not cruel. Now ask yourself, why should your own mind deserve less patience than that child? Many of us believe that being hard on ourselves keeps us disciplined. But think about your own experience. Has shame ever truly made lasting change easier? Or has it simply made you afraid to try again? Modern psychology has reached a conclusion the Stoics understood centuries ago. People grow faster when they feel safe enough to be honest. Not comfortable. Safe. Safe enough to admit, "I handled that poorly. I overreacted. I let fear make that decision," without immediately believing, "Therefore I am a failure." Your mistakes are information, not identity. Read that again. Your mistakes are information, not identity. Epictetus reminded his students that no one becomes wise by pretending to already be wise. Wisdom begins the moment you become willing to see yourself clearly, without excuses, without self-hatred, without illusion. That kind of honesty is one of the greatest forms of self-respect. So here's a simple Stoic practice. Before going to bed tonight, sit quietly for 5 minutes. Ask yourself 3 questions. What did I do well today? Celebrate it. Not with arrogance, with gratitude. Then ask, where did I fall short? Answer honestly, not emotionally. Finally, ask the most important question. What will I do differently tomorrow? That's it. No punishment, no guilt, no dramatic promises. Just one small improvement, repeated every day. Because that's how character is built. One honest conversation at a time. One better decision at a time. One forgiven mistake at a time. Over weeks, you begin trusting yourself. Over months, you begin respecting yourself. And eventually, something remarkable happens. The voice inside your head stops sounding like a relentless critic. It starts sounding like a wise mentor. A mentor who tells the truth without destroying hope. And that is the kind of relationship every human being deserves to have with themselves. Because when your inner voice becomes an ally instead of an enemy, loving yourself no longer feels like an impossible goal. It becomes the natural result of learning to live wisely. But there is still one final habit, perhaps the most powerful one of all. Because real self-love doesn't end with you. It expands beyond you. And when it does, everything changes. Habit 5. Live for something greater than yourself. If you've followed these habits so far, you've probably noticed something. None of them are really about comfort. They're about becoming someone you can respect. And that's where the final Stoic habit begins. Because there is one thing no amount of self-care can replace. Purpose. Many people spend years asking, how can I be happier? The Stoics asked a different question. How can I become useful? At first, those questions sound unrelated, but they're deeply connected. Think back to the moments in your life that felt the most meaningful. Chances are, they weren't the easiest moments. They weren't the most relaxing. They probably required effort, responsibility, sacrifice. Perhaps you helped someone through a difficult season. Perhaps you stood up for what was right. Perhaps you kept a promise when nobody would have blamed you for breaking it. Those moments stayed with you because they reminded you who you really are. Marcus Aurelius understood this better than anyone. He woke each morning carrying responsibilities that most of us can barely imagine. An empire, wars, political conflict, disease, economic uncertainty. Yet instead of asking, why is life so difficult? He reminded himself, at dawn when you have trouble getting out of bed, tell yourself, I have to go to work as a human being. Notice the difference. Not, I have to survive another day. Not, I have to make myself happy. But, I have work to do. To the Stoics, being human wasn't about chasing pleasure. It was about fulfilling your purpose with integrity. This changes everything. Because when your life revolves only around your own feelings, every emotion becomes an emergency. Every bad day feels like failure. Every setback feels personal. But when your life is anchored in purpose, your emotions stop controlling your direction. You still feel disappointment. You still experience fear. You still have moments of doubt. But those feelings no longer decide who you become. Imagine a lighthouse standing on a rocky coastline. Storms arrive. Massive waves crash against it. Powerful winds shake everything around it. Yet the lighthouse remains. Not because there are no storms, but because it was built for something greater than avoiding them. Purpose gives people that same kind of stability. Seneca once wrote, "He who has a why to live can bear almost any how." Those words continue to resonate because they're true. People don't become resilient because life is easy. They become resilient because their reason for moving forward is stronger than their reasons for giving up. So let me ask you something. Who benefits when you become a calmer person? Who benefits when you stop reacting with anger? Who benefits? When you become more patient, more disciplined, more compassionate. It's not only you. It's your family, your children, your partner, your friends, your co-workers, even complete strangers whose paths cross yours. The Stoics believed that every human being is connected. Every act of wisdom creates more wisdom. Every act of patience makes patience easier for someone else. Every act of kindness ripples outward in ways you'll never fully see. Suddenly, self-care stops being selfish. It becomes one of the greatest gifts you can offer the people around you. Because the healthier your character becomes, the safer others feel in your presence. The calmer you become, the more peace you create wherever you go. The stronger you become, the more strength you have to give away. That is why Stoic self-care feels so different from modern self-care. Modern culture often says, put yourself first. Stoicism says, become your best self, so you can serve the world better. One focuses on escape, the other focuses on contribution. And strangely enough, the second path often brings the deeper happiness. Not because you chased happiness, because you chased excellence, and happiness quietly followed. If there's one lesson I hope stays with you after today, it's this. Loving yourself isn't something you suddenly feel. It's something you gradually build. Every promise you keep to yourself lays another stone. Every difficult conversation you choose not to avoid lays another stone. Every distraction you refuse, every honest reflection you make, every act of quiet discipline lays another stone. Eventually, those small choices become something unshakable. Self-respect. And from self-respect, real self-love naturally grows. Not the kind that depends on compliments, or success, or approval, but the kind that remains, even on difficult days, even after mistakes, even when nobody is watching, because you know who you are, and you know you're becoming someone worthy of your own trust. So before you leave today, I'd like you to choose just one of these 5 habits. Don't try to master all of them at once. Transformation rarely happens through dramatic change. It happens through quiet consistency. One decision, repeated tomorrow, and the day after that, and the day after that. If this message spoke to you, leave a comment with just 2 words. I choose growth. Not for me, for yourself. Let those words become a promise, a reminder of the person you're choosing to become. And if you want to continue exploring the timeless wisdom of Stoicism, wisdom that helps you build resilience, clarity, and inner peace in a noisy world, consider subscribing and turning on notifications. There is so much more to discover. Until next time, take care of your mind, protect your character, and remember, the greatest relationship you'll ever build is the one you have with yourself. Before you leave, I want you to remember the question we asked at the very beginning. Why don't I feel enough? Perhaps you were never supposed to spend your life chasing that feeling. Perhaps the real goal was never to feel worthy, but to become someone worthy of your own trust. Someone who keeps promises. Someone who faces discomfort instead of running from it. Someone who protects their mind, speaks to themselves with wisdom, and lives each day with purpose. Because that is where real self-love begins. Not in comfort, not in approval, not in perfection, but in character. So here's my challenge for you. Don't try to change your entire life tomorrow. Choose just one of these 5 Stoic habits. Practice it for the next 7 days. Then come back to this video and tell us what changed. I'd love to read your experience. And if today's message gave you a new way of looking at yourself, leave a comment below with these 4 words. I choose wisdom over comfort. Let's fill the comments with people who are committed, not to becoming perfect, but to becoming stronger, calmer, and wiser every single day. If you're ready to continue this journey, be sure to subscribe to QMLG Stoic and turn on notifications. Every week, we explore timeless Stoic wisdom, powerful ideas, and practical lessons that help you master your mind, strengthen your character, and find peace in a noisy world. Thank you for spending these moments with me. Until next time, protect your peace, strengthen your character, let wisdom lead your life. This is QMLG Stoic. Stay wise.